What is up, Auburn family? Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. You are watching a live recording of the next episode of the Auburn Experience with Kyle Loomis and Austin Scott. And of course, my good friend Austin Scott is joining us once again. Welcome, Austin.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be back on another week, another end of another weekend with another game behind us and all that comes with that.
Lots to talk about tonight. Let me set the table for everybody who may be, for those of you that have been watching these for a while, you'll know the drill. But those that may be catching it for the first time, this is a live recording of a podcast. We will begin that podcast in roughly about 5 minutes. So I'm looking at the clock right now. And we will record that here during that broadcast. The chances are we probably won't be addressing a lot of the comments, but we might. So chat away with each other and the things that we're talking about there. We'll hang out here for our first 5 minutes, just catching up with all of y'all. Austin will be leaving right after the broadcast, and I'll hang around for a few more minutes if there's anything you guys that are watching live would like to talk about. We'll put up a reminder in the bottom about us doing a recording here in about 5 minutes. But with that being said, you guys feel free to check in right now, post where you're watching from. Some of you are already doing that, and smash the like button, all that stuff. This is exclusively on YouTube. No Facebook, no Twitter. They're not good enough. I'm kidding. Just the YouTube people. This is something we do for you guys extra special because we like you that much, or at least Austin does. I can't speak for myself, but Austin does.
That's right.
Austin, sir, what's going on, man? We're going to talk about some of this in the thing, but how are you coping with everything that's going on?
Oh, another whirlwind of emotions day inside Jordan Hare Stadium. Roller coaster all the way from beginning to end and then some. So, um, it's just the hand we're dealt this year, I think. And who knows how that hand's going to change over the next few weeks. But just another crazy day. Thankfully, Auburn came away with a win. I think that's still important for some people is that they won. I don't for
I'm
some
beginning to doubt
people,
that. Yeah.
for some. But I can understand some sentiments of others, but I'm glad Auburn's 3-1 and always fun to play LSU. I thought it was really interesting that back-to-back weeks though, we had two teams who'd never been to Jordan Hare Stadium
Isn't it
before in Penn
interesting?
State and Missouri. That is a rarity in today's college football. I know our buddy Clint, has his running list of teams Auburn's never played before, but I'd be interested to know of teams they have played and still haven't come to Jordan Hare.
I would imagine that's a very large list.
I would think so. Yeah.
Just because, think about it in a regular season schedule, you play, in modern era, obviously things have changed over time. You play, was it 8 SEC games? And, the majority of those, 6 of those are in conference. Right now, it used to be 5 because we added Texas A&M and Missouri recently. And then you counter in like home and home series. That is home and home series like a newer thing these days. Like I get the feeling the more we talk about them, the less likely they've happened in the past.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like kind of back before all the big neutral site games got big. Like we've talked about the West Virginia game. I don't remember us going up there and returning that trip.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's just like I don't know. I don't know how it works. It feels like it's just easier to do the home and home, and so maybe it is newer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that definitely helps these teams be able to experience new places.
Absolutely does. Devin, we might be talking a little bit about you in some respects tonight. We'll see. We usually do this show in about 3 different segments, the kind of what's hot, what's the most pertinent thing happening right now. So obviously we'll be discussing that game a little bit. But we may get to something that relates to you and your stories. But I was very happy to get to experience your first true time in Auburn. She had passed through once before, but never had stopped to take it all in. And she got about all that she could. She's still in Prattville, though, with family right now. So thanks for checking in from Peeville tonight, even though it's not Texas, which is normally the case for you tonight. We'll take a few more quick comments before we get started. Thought Robbie was a better fit for the offense. I'm kind of backtracking my thoughts. TJ needs to be the guy with Robbie coming in the red zone. Does that make sense to you? I think I read that wrong. Thought Robbie was.
Yeah. I don't think TJ's going to be able to be the guy for a few weeks given an injury, but Yeah, it was interesting.
It
It was
was.
interesting.
Now he did get hurt, correct, Robbie, during the game, and that's why they brought Holden in. Is that what you were told?
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw him go in the tent, and it looked like his throwing arm on that block that he threw, which props to him for throwing it.
I know,
But it
isn't it the
hurt him.
bad thing is you praise the players for this, for
Oh
doing
yeah,
that, and then they suffer for it. Yeah,
yeah. That was a good for him for getting in there and making a block and being aware. But yeah, it stinks he got hurt.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think Holden came in really except for that reason. But thought Holden looked, thrown into action as an 18-year-old kid. Thought he looked okay too. So
Listen, and some people are talking about it right now. It's a shame that his first start was an SEC. In some sense, yes, it is a shame that his first start was SEC play. But in other respects, listen, man, I mean, throw him into the fire, so to speak, and
yeah,
see what happens. They say iron is forged through fire. You know, I would say it's debatable how it worked for Bo, but
yeah,
he got to play some, well, he actually got thrown in right away with Oregon. But it is what it is. You kind of just have to go with the hand that is dealt.
not a
Corey says
bad
that Cal,
performance for Bo this weekend.
yeah. Well, if you had been watching our live stream, people were rejoicing that he threw a pick and then didn't wait for just a second to see what would happen. Our boy Bo, outside of that, understandably very tough Georgia game. I don't Georgia right now. I mean, I
Yeah,
know they struggled this weekend. We say struggled. They allowed a team that should have not have been in the game with them to stay in longer. Auburn, and so you know, I think you should understand what happened against them against Georgia. It is what it
most
is,
people are gonna look like that against Georgia this year.
and
But
I hate to admit it.
you know what I saw, Kyle, that you'll appreciate this. The only offensive line, and this will be an easy answer given our conversation. The only offensive line in the country not to give up a sack this year.
Oregon.
It's pretty amazing what you can do when you get a line like that.
And it's amazing that, like, when people were saying he's just running from the SEC when he left, I'm like, no, Bo went to where he could find protection. That's
Yep.
it. Man graduated. I'm an Auburn man, whether you like him or not. He's I mean, you can be an Auburn man or woman besides being a graduate, but I think that qualifies you.
Sure.
If you're
Sure.
holding that degree. Anyway, let's not even go down that road. He's not an
Yeah.
Auburn Tiger anymore. I just hope that
Yep.
everybody can stop ragging the dude, let him do his thing, and hopefully have a successful end to his career, whether it continues or not. All right. So, again, reminder for those of you that may be new, we are about to record a live podcast for roughly 30 minutes, 3 different segments. We will most likely not be addressing any comments, but we might see something we like and bring it up if it fits or something like that. You guys continue the conversation. You guys have fun with that, and then I will be with you after Austin will leave, and I'll just kind of address any other little things at the end. Let's get this thing on the road. There's your reminder for those of you that are regulars. Please help moderate in the chat since we will be focused here below. With that being said, 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. Boy, oh boy. Unfortunately, sometimes doesn't include Auburn sports, but we're still happy to have those Auburn sports. Yes, sometimes it includes ups and downs, highs and lows, a little bit of luck, a little bit of miracles, but also you have to be prepared for those miracles. It also includes little shops in the corner of College and Magnolia serving the best lemonade, but it also includes those little mom and pop stores that so tastefully hint at being part of the Auburn family when you visit them across the nation. It's somebody over in Spain, it's somebody in Pelham, Alabama. But of course, it's about all of us in the Auburn family because we are all part of the Auburn experience. And that is what we discuss here on this podcast. And of course, the experience is always better with more people. And that's why I always have my co-host, my friend, Austin Scott. Welcome back, sir.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, War Eagle Kyle. Really great weekend on the Plains homecoming, which just encompasses the Auburn experience all in all. Great turnout for Toomer's Corner after the game. Lots of toilet paper thrown. Lots of people experiencing Auburn for the first time. Just a great weekend for a lot of people to come home. And it was an exciting weekend for sure. We'll get into all of it and more, I'm sure. But man, what a great weekend every year it is for homecoming at Auburn.
We're going to dive a little bit more into just the homecomingness of it all. Like, the stuff that's pretty much outside of the actual football game, whether it's a good or bad, things that I experienced, maybe Austin saw and experienced this weekend as well, that go into that. We usually spend the first segment here kind of talking about what's hot. And that's obviously, the topic of what happened in that football game, if it was a football game in Jordan-Hare Stadium. But just before we dive into those somewhat, not so fun conversations, I will acknowledge with you as well that I think that's sometimes lost, that what a great weekend this was, if you have the right perspective about things. I mean, Auburn is such a unique and amazing place, and sometimes we forget in the frustrations of a football team that can't find its footing that it's much bigger than even the outcome of a football game, even when we win. I want to remind folks out there, we did win a football game. Yes, was there luck involved a little bit, but luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And you can continue to argue with me all you want on that, online, whatever. I'm going to continue to throw that in your face. I'm going to be honest, Austin. I'm a little bit salty after the game. Not even so much about the football team, just about some of our response. So you're going to have to keep me in check tonight.
Oh boy, that's a tall task for both of us to have to ask the other to keep in check, but we'll
Listen,
do our best.
I was crotchety in episode 2 and 3, I think, about how the team was performing. Now I'm just salty about everything else now. And I think maybe obviously if our team was doing a little better, that wouldn't even happen, but it is what it is. Austin, hey, help me make sense of what we saw. I mean, it's the hot topic right now. I'm sitting over here just trying to find a way to put a lipstick on a pig, but help me understand what we saw during that. Remind you, it was the homecoming game
The
that we saw.
homecoming game. Yep, the homecoming game that Auburn doesn't normally schedule against conference opponents. I think that's just the way the schedule
Why?
fell this year. But it was an offensive clinic by both teams, I thought. Just really well done on both sides of the field, throwing the ball around. We've all seen the screenshot, I'm sure, going around of the like 15 consecutive punts, but all accompanied by 3 and outs. Just after halftime, we all just had a great time watching them kick that ball back and forth. The punter from down under sure did do a lot to help his Ray Guy Award candidacy. So good for him. I think that's a
Oh,
positive I'll take
you weren't
away.
aware that that's what this whole season about, is to avenge the Ray Guy awards that should have been earned in the past by several other Auburn punters. That's what
Oh,
this has been
I'm in.
about.
I'm in. It all makes sense now. If you just look at it through that lens, folks, we're getting Oscar Chapman a Ray Guy Award.
I mean, let's think about. I'm blanking on some of their names. You'll have to help me out here. God, wow,
Aaron Sipos could have easily
yes.
won a Ray Guy. Stephen Clark could have won a Ray Guy for sure.
Thank you. That's who I was thinking of.
But yeah, it was dreadful. It was dreadful to watch in person, on TV, whatever. And it left a lot of people unhappy. There were a lot of chances for Auburn to pull away in that game, a lot of chances for Missouri to win that game. And in the end, it took down to the very last play at the very last inch for Auburn to come away with a win. But it was something, and a whole lot of responses came to it.
And let me just say this too, just from the other side's perspective. And I almost felt bad for Missouri. And it was just kind of the way when you're walking around. Yeah, when your team loses, especially if it's on the road, you kind of walk around sheepishly on campus while you're going back to your car or taking it. And that, credit to a lot of the Missouri fans that stuck around and kind of took in Toomer's Corner just to see the spectacle. Because hey guys, this was the first time they've ever visited too. I don't know if y'all knew that. We were talking about that pre-show with some of the people on YouTube. Another unique scenario there, and they almost got out of here with their first win, the first time ever visiting too. But they were just like sitting around at tailgates, like some of them even like cross-legged on the ground, just kind of like, I don't know. And then the Auburn fans would sit next to him and be like, man, I don't know either. I don't know. I want to be, I'm happy, but I don't know, man. This is rough. This is tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was just both teams left being like, did either of us win that game? I don't really know. There was a fan near us who was a Missouri fan, and a friend of mine was actually sitting next to him, and was telling me that after the game they were just kind of stunned, and he kind of patted him back and was like, thanks for coming. Sorry about how," and he was like, "Man," he was like, "I don't know what just happened." And he was just like, he was like, "I'm glad Auburn won because I've been dealing with this since the '70s." And I guess Missouri, he just seemed down in the dumps on Missouri football, and I guess that's kinda how we're all feeling. It's, I don't know, and whatever that was, it happened, I guess.
Yeah, so just, it is what it is. Auburn walked out with a win, and, I think you should be thankful for that. I also echo, and, I wish you could have seen me in the stands. I had great seats in the upper deck, like, front I wasn't the front row, I was basically there, could see
Yeah,
everything. It was a great place to be for a homecoming game, to see all the festivities of that, and everything that's not even with homecoming. Then, the War Eagle flight just was a great, beautiful day, a little bit warm, but not too warm for the most part of it. Did be a little sunburn. But I mean, as the game went on, you just felt like the way we started is like, we listen, this is the home game, or this is the homecoming everybody needed right here. And you're like feeling
yeah,
high, 14-0. And then it happened. And I don't know what we watched. We got to see Holden Gerner for the very first time. Poor kid.
He's just trying to play football, and God love him. He
Yeah,
just is thrown in there, didn't expect to play probably this season, and he's just thrown in there in the SEC game at home when there's so much outside noise. And, for what all is going on, good for him for getting in there and doing what he could.
it's so funny because, I obviously in the stands, but I can only imagine the people that had a good vantage point on TV could see probably his eyes. I bet they were
Oh,
just like as wide as saucers.
had to be huge.
Just like, because let's be honest, folks, and this is not we kind of sound like we've taken some shots at Missouri fans. You're still part of the SEC, and you're a Power Five school, even if you weren't part of the SEC. So that's Power Five talent. It may not be the
Yeah,
same level, as some other in the Power Five or the SEC, but it's still Power Five talent. And so that's who's coming up against him and coming to knock his head off, essentially. And to his credit, I think I remember one good throw that he had kind of
yeah.
zinged in there. And I don't remember who that was to, but I was like,
Mm,
all right, I kind of like what I see there. Is, he also had that little flip out into the flats that was a lateral that almost was a fumble.
yep,
Um,
yep.
Freshman
Hey, he's a
mistakes.
little slow. He's a little bit slower, which, we expected given he's a little pocket passer quarterback, and with this line, you can't really be slow. And so he was learning on the job, and, good for him. And regardless if Holden Geriner ever plays a snap again, he got to play college football in the SEC for about 4 or 5 plays, and, good for him. And I hope we get to see a lot more of Holden Geriner having success in Jordan-Hare
So
someday.
let's be honest about this game, and as we always remind you, we'll have deeper dives into the game on our Monday night live streams. We do breakdowns and grades, usually with Ben King, and he'll be hopefully back this week to discuss and break down and grade this debacle of a game. But on the scale of frustration and relief, or or however you want to say, the positive scale, the negative scale, of how you felt after this game, were you more thankful, or were you closer to frustration by the end of it? And be
Oh,
honest.
man.
I
Well,
know
I definitely throughout the whole game went all the way, both sides all the whole time. Where I landed is a good question. Probably, uh, about middle leaning frustrated. Glad we won. That's the biggest thing.
yeah,
You have you're 3-1 on the year, and you're 1-0 in the SEC. Everything is so cheesy and so coach speak, but everything you want is still in front of you, as bleak as it might seem.
yeah.
But you won. Given all that, there's frustrations because you see same issues we've been talking about. You see all the same things that everyone's talking about, that with issues with this team, and are things going to get right? And you're just not sure, and we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know when things are going to go. But it's such a weird time in Auburn football right now, where it just feels like we're all just stuck right here
To
trying to
quote
watch what goes by.
to quote a coach, I'm never mind, I'm gonna be nice, but to quote a certain coach, "Buckle up, folks. This is Auburn football."
Yeah, truth.
Let let's jump into our second topic tonight, and it's still about homecoming, but it's the good stuff about homecoming, and that's, listen, That's what we really needed. And I'll be honest with you, this is what I needed during this season. Even with the game we just discussed, the frustrations of it, if you discredit and discount homecoming, you miss out on so much. And when I tell folks to, like, A-Day weekend, when it's done properly with the planning, athletic events and otherwise, is some of the best Auburn experience you have. I would say the same for homecoming as well. And there's no reason for them not to just pile you up with opportunities to experience Auburn on homecoming weekend, not just the day, but weekend. I had a blast all weekend for a variety of reasons. But can I just quote, or I'm going to try to quote, but let me ask this question first, Austin. Did you happen, and I know you saw it in the stand, but did you happen to see the video that they made for homecoming with Lady A, as they're now called, Compass, the song? Thoughts on that? I mean, I don't want to sway you one way or the other. How'd you feel about that video?
Oh, I loved it. My wife and I watched it that morning, actually. They put it
Yep.
out on social media. The E2C account retweeted it, or quote tweeted, or embedded it, however you want to say it. And we saw it, and I just thought it was great. Auburn does that homecoming home video every year, and it's a little bit different, but it all shows the sights of campus, and not necessarily the game or anything, game action, but the things you come back for, that you participate all the whole weekend outside of just going to the football game. And it makes you get a little misty eyed. It just makes you feel good.
Dang it, Auburn. Stop it right now. You stop with this making me have to but just bring my glasses down when it's not even sunny out, just so that people won't see me getting all misty eyed. Dag nabbit. My goodness. I don't know who's in charge there, but you need to stop it, sir.
They nail it. And it was good. Like, that was kind of the things we ended the podcast with last week, is talking about, is this homecoming. I know there's a lot of frustration around the team, but this was the weekend to come back to Auburn and see different things you love, and stir up those feelings for a school that means so much to so many of us. And a simple 2-minute video encompassed a whole lot of that.
If it wouldn't get us, YouTube strikes, because we are recording this live on YouTube, I would play it right now for you, just so y'all could watch me try not to get misty-eyed. I'm not joking, Austin. When I've watched this thing, at least on my way back, or listened to it in the background, at least 5 times. Like, I cannot get enough of it. I think every year they make a new one, and I'm like, they'll never do better than that one, and they do it every single time. So if you haven't watched the video, go watch the video. It's like, I think, barely over a minute, but it just is amazing. And of course, like, the first words from the song they play, it's been a bumpy road, and we're all like, man, I feel that. Right.
Amen.
I think it's like, just because of that alone, it got people in their feels already. It has been a bumpy road. And so
there's no other way to describe it.
The words, I remember that the narrator, and I don't know who that is, but it's the same guy every time that does that. And he says, I'm gonna try to get it right here. Some of us are experiencing for the first time. Some of us, this is all we know. Some of us are coming back. Some of us never left. And hold on. When they said that, and they showed Pat Dye in that's what got me. Because you realize the man, he lived outside of Auburn when he got, fired, essentially, but he never left Auburn. That's what got me. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, when they showed Pat Dye when he first arrived, and just as an old man standing on a fence post, just smiling back at us, I'm like, dang, never. I hate y'all.
They had it
so
all.
much.
They knew which strings to pull.
Yeah, and so there were some other words I can't even remember right now, because I'm getting misty-eyed right now just thinking about that segment in it. But it is a great video. I will watch it 5 other times before I go to bed tonight, just because of how good it is. So, other stuff, how much did you get to experience outside of the actual game, or did you get to do any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. So one of my favorite things every single year about homecoming is I don't think many people will say this, is the floats. I love the homecoming floats. And I was looking up today before I talked about this, because I wanted to make sure I had it right. But this is perfect. This is an E2C podcast, and I'm able to give a shameless plug here, but it was actually what I was looking for. You can Google Auburn Homecoming Floats 2022. The very first video that pops up is a video done by Kyle Williams.
Got you covered.
Of the
we
floats.
got you covered.
And it's great footage. You get to see every one of them. It's exactly what you need. But I love the floats. And some of them you just every year, some of them just aren't very good, and
It's
it's
struggle.
okay. It's
Struggle.
usually the same fraternity and sororities every year, but some of them put really good
Yeah,
effort into them. They make sure all that little tissue paper is real tight, and it all looks really good. Normally I feel like when I walked by before the game, and it might be because the game was at 11, they've already awarded
I
ribbons
think
and to
so.
which one's winning, but when I walked by on, Saturday, I guess they hadn't done I couldn't find who won. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at it which one should win.
I don't know that it
Um,
is, and I'll tell you why in a second.
really?
Yeah, I mean, they probably already
I
announced it, but yeah.
I don't know who won. I still don't to right now, but I thought Fiji and someone else, whoever the sorority accompanying them, theirs was, like, the big one with the jumbotron, and had stands on it, had, the 2 or was it the Tiger Walk sign, or
Yeah,
was
yep,
it
yep, that
yeah,
was
that
some
one
version of that.
was super good and looked really clean. I can't remember the other one I really liked, but I don't know who
The
won.
Sanford Hall replica?
Yeah, yeah, that was the one I mean, from the ground up, miniature Sanford Hall, about, like, maybe 4 or 5 feet high, was really good. Um, and then there were some other okay ones, but they all look really good, and I'm always impressed that somehow students in their time figure out how to put all that together on
Yeah.
homecoming week. But that is one of my favorite parts to always see, because people get pretty creative.
Listen, Fiji House, if you don't know who Fiji House is, they are the ones right across from the library. They're very loud, and you
Yes.
hear them on game days. And to their credit, I love that they give the business, that what the referee used to say, give them 50 yards, giving them the business to
Yeah.
the opposing buses as they come in and just let them have it. I'm like, yeah, you keep living that Auburn dream, people. You just keep doing that. So credit to Fiji House, because I would definitely say they are in the running for the best one because of the amount of effort that went into that. The
Yeah.
the size along with detail, but that Sanford Hall, and to be honest, when I got a video of it, some the elements had kind of gotten to some of the tissue paper a little bit because I saw it
Mhm.
during the parade. I saw that Sanford Hall come by and I went, holy crap. And I was like, that's the
Yeah.
winner. And then I saw Fiji Houses and I was like, oh my gosh. Like that. I mean, I don't know who's going to win this year. Usually, I will say last year when I did it, there was a clear winner. I can't remember. We have a video of that too if you want to go back and look at it. But I went by this year, and there were others too that I felt that were worthy of winning something if they'd give different categories.
Right.
But those are the two standouts right
I
there,
think you
clearly.
hit it on the head too, because the Sanford one was so, like, down to a perfect replica, but that Fiji one was huge.
Yeah,
Like, I
that was a
was
lot of effort.
amazed at how big it was, and then, like, they're usually the size of the jumbotron. They already do, and then, like, behind it, they've got the Tiger Walk sign, and so I think they had a tree or something else, and I was just
Mhm.
like, this is a whole lot of tissue paper."
Yeah, using that
So,
to bounce into, like, further stuff with homecoming week, if, the floats in the parade is so much fun. It usually goes through, main of not downtown Auburn, but Toomer's Corner, College and Mag, Thatch, that kind of area, the big square, and,
yeah.
comes back for a pep rally. This year, because they were celebrating 150 years of the mechanical and ag portion of Auburn is what it began as. They were doing an event that night, so they couldn't have the entire band like they did last year out
Mm.
there. So it was the piped in music for it. But if you haven't done that, it may seem cheesy. It may seem, but I think that's one of the best things out there is to see the student organizations having fun. Obviously, the fraternities, sororities,
So
and that's a new one right
easy for
there.
you to say, yeah.
This is how Kyle's had a rough week and he can't speak worse than he already can. Um, but yeah, that I would recommend that. I had a great time with that this weekend, getting to do that. The floats were great, and just the next thing I'm going to say about homecoming weekend is going to sound kind of mean, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's almost like a purging of certain parts of the fandom. Is that too mean? Is that too mean,
No, I
Austin?
get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
These are the people you come to homecoming because you love Auburn. And not to say that that makes you less of an Auburn fan or anything like that, but I feel like when I'm there at homecoming, because of the inability to fill up the stadium, these are the people that truly are here for the big reasons. And listen, people have, I know things happen. There's other priorities,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of you out there didn't come, had tickets and didn't sell the tickets because you don't like the way things are going. And you just, all those kind of petty reasons. And I just felt like that day that I was with the cream of the crop. And I don't think I'm worthy of that sometimes. So it's kind of like, wow, I'm part of this today. This is the
Yeah.
people who, when they see that video, whether it's on your phone or in the stadium, they're getting misty eyed too. And I think the same thing. I got tickets from a alleged Alabama fan who was there at the game because their child is in the band, but you can kind of see she loves Auburn a little bit. It's infecting her too. And you could almost see it in her. She's getting it too, this family vibe. So I just love it, man. I really do. I know it makes me cheesy, you call me sunshine pumper all you want. I love me some homecoming weekend. Just in the weather, yeah, it obviously got a little bit warm. And the game wasn't
Oh,
great, but everything else was just great.
yes. It could have been a lot hotter, that's for sure, and
Mhm.
has been on the last weekend of September in the past. But yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. It's the homecoming weekend, the whole festivities, whether it's the alumni band with the
I didn't
marching
even
band
mention
on the
that.
field. I mean, you know, and then crowning homecoming queen, all that just is so much bigger than just a football game, and the football game is used to really cap it all off. But just a great weekend, really fun, and just so, appreciate homecoming, folks. Not just because the football team might be struggling, but just appreciate what it means to have, like Kyle said, so much of the Auburn family, the true Auburn family, back and experiencing what they love about Auburn, not just related to athletics.
And just like the video says, it doesn't matter how you're experiencing Auburn for the first time, for the
That's
thousandth
right.
time, whether you've been there the whole time or you long to be back. We all call it the same thing, home.
Mm.
And that's why it's homecoming. Section 3, part 2 or 3, whatever you call it. I was trying to be French there, but it didn't work. That's the nature of doing a podcast live. Can't edit that out, Kyle. Listen, we're actually kind of doing this live, audible here, unless Austin has something else he wants to hit. We're going to kind of go with something we had a little bit planned on the fly there. And do you have anything, Austin, that you'd like to hit other than that topic?
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I really like what we've talked about for this next section. I'm interested. It has to do with us doing this live in a way because
Yeah,
we
it does.
interact with a certain individual. But I'm
It,
excited to hear about this from how it went from your perspective.
listen, we're just call me sunshine pumper all you want again. We're trying to give you some positivity on a very bleak season right now, even though we still have everything in front of us, believe it or not.
Right.
Um, Auburn homecoming is great. Experiencing Auburn for the first time again, and what I mean by that is not, you can't obviously experience again yourself. Once it gets in you, you know what it is. May not be able to explain it, but experiencing Auburn through the eyes of someone else for the first time is unexplainable. And I'm
Mm.
talking about you, Miss Devon, and your husband, who's a UW fan, a Washington fan, but I think we started converting him officially this weekend. Getting to experience was one of the best pleasures of my life, because I've also gotten to experience that in some ways through D Ford. And I think most of us know who D Ford is, not the footballer, as she would say, but the sweet little British lady from London who loves Auburn more than I ever could. And she's barely been an Auburn fan. I mean, she's like an infant compared to the majority of us in our Auburn, legacy. But I don't think I'm worthy to tie her shoes. But to get to experience like the things like with her for D, like her first tiger walk, her first tumors, corner rolling, the first game, obviously got to do a lot of those similar things, but on homecoming weekend with Miss Devin Wistrom. Like, Devin, thank you for letting me do that. That was absolutely. Have you ever gotten to do that? I mean, with like a peer or something like that before?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'd have to think. Actually, yes, I have. I've gotten to do it on a couple occasions with a friend of ours who's been down to Auburn, and we've gotten to show her around camps, everything outside of a football weekend. And then last year, the Ole Miss game, we got her to come to a game and got to do it all again, in the I think that was the end of October, just perfect Auburn football weather and a great game. And just got to experience all of it again with all that comes with the Auburn game day. And so um, it's just it's hard to explain unless you just do it. And I think that's kind of what you're going to get at. But just being able to show this bits and pieces that words can't adequately describe, but
Mhm.
you just get to see them see it and see what it means to you. And so, yeah, that's a joy is to get to be able to show Auburn off to someone who's never gotten to see it and see them come away, even if it's just a little bit, with the love you have for it.
And it's the funny thing too, because Devin started like hinting at this, like, and it seemed like kind of like a joke at first. We need a tour guide, the kind that we always do. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm down. And I don't think I had to like contain myself to like this is what I love to do, like just show people Auburn and talk about my stories, but obviously the wider stories as well. Let me tell you the level of detail I went with her and her
Oh
husband.
boy,
We met at Alumni Hall, which is a new part of Auburn, obviously, but we
sure.
met there and then came across, because one of my favorite places in Auburn, Funchess, aka Fungus Hall, because the fungus department is literally, or it was at my time, in the bottom
Hmm.
basement floor, and it kind of looks and smells like fungus is down there. But the building as a whole has this certain smell that I smell it right now. And I told them this. I said, I know what this is going to smell like before I walk in. Sure enough, walked in there. It's like I was in class again. Same, stuffed head of a bear and
Yep,
a moose is in there.
I can
Uh,
picture it.
it's awesome. My professor found him on the wall. I said, look, right now, this isn't even about you guys. This is about me. I'm just living the life right here, imagining my senior year, which was one of the best years of my life outside of Mary and Jessica. I said it. It's said, okay. So
It's on
nobody,
record.
it's
That's on
on the
record.
record. Getting engaged on Auburn campus to the love of my life was the best year ever. I said it on live. It's here. It's on posterity. We went and did in our limited time. That was the biggest problem, Austin, is how do you share Auburn
Mhm.
in 2 hours?
Mm.
How? Like, how do you do that? So
Yo.
before I share more about, like, if you have 2 hours, what do you hit when you share
Oh
Auburn for the
my
first time?
gosh. 2 hours. We're going downtown, for the drugstore and lemonade. I mean, that every people outside of Auburn that don't know Auburn know about the lemonade and drugstore. So that's a yes. Toomer's Corner is a yes. I I'll tell you, we usually start there and we walk. We get them lemonades, so they're nice and full, and sipping on it. We go by the picture spot. We go through Sanford Hall. We go down the main concourse, point out Foley. We got our route, point out the quad, point out Haley, the big things. Go in the bookstore, see if we can get them to buy a couple shirts, and do the green space and the whole. I mean, you just take that big as lap of, excuse me, as big of a lap as you can, to show them all of campus. But I like starting and ending where campus meets downtown, just because that's where the community hits, and Auburn is just plopped in the middle of this little town, and that's kind of how it feels. Like the students are just plopped in with the community, that people that have been here or live here after they graduated, or have lived here for just forever. And so, um, 2 hours is so hard. I just I don't know how
It
you
was it was rough.
encompass it all.
I
But
was
but
sweating.
you started in Funchess, so 2 hours from there. How'd you end up?
We actually made a pit stop into the library. I would ask them, I was like, look, I'm gonna show you everything I can. So you're gonna have to tell me I'm too tired. You're gonna have to tell me
Yeah.
that's enough, Kyle. Shut up. We went to the library and I showed them, the big addition to it now, and walked them through that a little bit. We went to what is the big gear thing called again? The
The
lathe. The
lathe,
lathe.
the lathe,
Told them the legend of how if you
of course,
kiss your lovely lady there and it starts spinning, she's not an
or
Auburn
lovely
woman.
man. Yep,
And the story is that it never spins because it's rusted shut. So every Auburn woman is an Auburn woman. So there you go.
that's right.
Talked about the seal, the many stories of the War Eagle at Centennial Garden right there between Foy and the back of Sanford. And,
Mm.
one of the, I don't think you've one of the stories I was told, and it's not obviously part of the official 4 stories that they have about the War Eagle, is that it died there in the center of
Oh
that.
my. No, I
But,
have not
you
heard that
know,
one.
that was like the first one I ever heard. I was like, that's not real, as fantastical as they always are.
Yeah.
Sadly enough, we did not have time to get to Toomer's Corner for the drugstore until she did at the end of the day. So she took care.
Well,
I
yeah.
like, but one of the most fun things we did is we went to Mama Goldberg's, and I'm just speaking for myself, so they may think differently, and just spent about 2 hours there, having some good old Mama's love and just chatting it up in that musty old
There
building,
you go.
like just
Absolutely.
sitting around and talking about Auburn in a place like that is technically not even on campus, even though campus is just across the street from it.
Right.
And it's just like, again, you talk about those intersection points of where campus meets the community, and it's just not even the community, it's the people that live there, it's the people that come back there.
Yes.
We all meet there together because we love this place, whether it's you're actually on campus or not. So those were the big highlights of my day. Of course, we did the pep rally, the things that we talked about in the second segment about homecoming stuff and Tiger Walk, of course, too, and Spirit March.
Yep.
So the funny thing about this, Austin, is in all of this discussion that we just had, whether you just gave me your scenario or not, did you notice something? We barely mentioned sports.
Mm.
Isn't that weird?
It's pretty preposterous, Kyle. How could you not?
But doesn't that also say something to you about the Auburn experience? The fact that when you ask, someone says, "Oh, where'd you go to school?" Auburn. Oh, Auburn. What's some of the first things they say?
Oh, what's going on with the football program, or what's
Well,
going
not
on?
currently, Austin.
I'm
We're in a
sorry.
feel-good segment right now. Shut your dirty mouth. Don't you ruin this. In a typical, like, normal year, whether Auburn's really good or just blah, what do they typically say?
When asking about Auburn,
You say, "Oh, I'm from Auburn." They go, "What?" Like just what's something that somebody would say to you normally?
someone would ask me about the lemonade, or
Really?
ask me about. I've had people ask me about if they've never had it. If
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm really blowing this. I'm trying to pick up what
Well,
you're what you're
I
asking.
guess what I'm saying is they'd say, "Oh, Cam Newton. Oh, the national championship.
Oh, I
Oh, the
see.
kick
Yeah, yeah.
six."
Some
That's
of the
my
big
point.
national moments. Yeah,
Exactly. They take those broad moments and stuff like that. But when we show Auburn, yeah, we're always looking to that stadium down there, that, Plainsman Park. We're looking, to Neville Arena now. We're going to get there, but it's so much bigger than
yeah,
that. It's so much better than that. And it's and for people that are so grumpy and upset, I think you've missed that. I think you've missed the beauty of Auburn and the beauty of the Auburn people. That's
yeah,
like that to me. Sitting in Mama Goldberg's with someone who's experiencing Auburn for the first time for 2 hours, just chatting it up and getting in trouble with my wife because I hadn't called her back yet. That's I shouldn't say it's worth it, because I'm really skating on thin ice here in this podcast with my wife,
yeah,
and she's
yeah.
just down the
Kyle,
hall.
I'm supposed to
So
keep you in check here. I'm supposed to keep you in check.
if
Come on.
someone comes in the room and rips me out of the view of the camera right now, you know what happened. So just keep that in mind.
I'll be
Anyway,
watching.
Austin, I hope you get the chance soon to experience that again, because experiencing Auburn for the first time as much as you can through someone's eyes is amazing.
Yeah, well, and we've been alluding to it with Devin here in the last few weeks as we chat with her before and after we record, and it's been a big build up, and I'm really glad it all worked out and that you guys got to do that, and I'm glad she got to be with you, Kyle, and you get to show her through Auburn on a homecoming weekend, no less. And so, what an exciting time, and that's what it's about. That's what it's
It's
about right there, is showing the Auburn experience.
And look, we went the full gamut there. Depression, sadness, reality to happiness. So it
That's
can be
right.
done. It absolutely can be done. And we thank you guys for obviously tuning into another episode of listening to us just ramble on about how much we love Auburn, even the struggles of Auburn at time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you do want to catch up with me on Twitter, you can do so at Kyle Loomis24 on Twitter. Obviously, follow all the E2C Network stuff across all of social media, and of course on YouTube and the podcasts. Where can they find you, Austin?
At Austin G. Scott. Let's have a good week, and it's LSU week. That's always a fun game too. That nothing ever goes awry in that game or anything weird in that game. So another good week to come back to Auburn, though.
And now my anxiety has risen yet again. Thank you, Austin.
Get ready for it, Kyle. Get ready for it.
I'm never ready for it. Well, in some ways, I always am. Thank you, guys. I hope you're ready for this week, and we'll be back with you very soon for another episode of the Auburn Experience. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
And we're out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in the episode. We're letting Austin go because it's his Betty Bye time. I'm a night owl, so I will hang out for another minute here because we got a lot of comments I saw during all that.
There, Kyle, I hate to be losing you, but there's a whole lot of stuff going on over there. I'm just
do we have shenanigans from things?
There's shenanigans and just people being just crazy. They're just
that's what happens.
Corey said we need the Kyle police in here. I'm gonna let the Kyle police take over.
All right,
you go get them, partner.
I got him. I'm feeling saucy and spicy tonight, so let me get him.
Good luck, commenters. Good luck.
All right, talk to you later, Austin.
See you guys.
All right, guys. I don't have long tonight, so I will pop over here and just see what's going on with you guys. Any big topics that you want to hit? Doesn't have to be related to what we talked about, but I hope you all enjoyed that. Let me take the banner down. What is going on in the chat right now? Like, what do I need to come and police? Someone tell me right now. Trying to catch up here on what's going on. Somebody fill me in on what has been happening. Devin says, honestly, a weekend I'll never forget. Our chat at Mama Goldberg's was a highlight. I learned so much. Well, and you learned my version of it. So just keep that in mind. You're seeing Auburn through my eyes, which may be skewed at that point, but I enjoyed the heck out of that. We would have had Caleb Williams if he had stayed. I guess we're talking about Austin Davis is what it seems like. Yeah, listen, Austin Davis had his opportunity to be here and chose not to be here. And just like you can't force someone to sign on the dotted line or commit to you, you can't force someone to want to be here and be a part of this, no matter how bad things may seem. We got people insulting each other. Well, that's just poor taste. I don't know if that's in fun or if that's just going on, but I'll hit some of these other comments while we get some more coming in here. Gracie says that I'm an Ohio State fan now. I come back when we start winning. Well, then you're not a true friend, actually. Yes. And fan. Or family member, Gracie. If you can't love someone in the bad times and in the good times, then you're just a coattail rider. And I'm sorry if that's mean, but it's the truth. And I love you enough as a supposed Auburn family member to tell you the truth. Brian, you haven't been right on everything, and you need to learn that, my friend. I love you so much, buddy, but you don't have to. That's literally your favorite phrase, and you don't have to keep bringing that up every single time. The more you say it, the less people will listen to it. Just being honest. I love you enough to tell you. Told you I was saucy and spicy tonight. Let's see here. Trying to roll back here and see some of y'all's comments. I know this doesn't make for a great show here. Thank you. I see Linda said you're not cheesy. I love your passion. Well, I am cheesy, but I also can have passion as well with that cheesiness. I'm so passionate, it's cheesy, but I'm also so cheesy, it's passionate. I think they go hand in hand. Let's see here. WT, I think you missed it. Always pay attention to any monikers down there. Yes, we are talking about that. The Auburn Experience Show is a podcast that is about the whole Auburn experience and not focused solely on football. So yes, we are talking about that. And WT, I think you've been around long enough to know what we are about here on this channel is not just about football, but not just about sports, but everything Auburn. And in this, frankly, I think it's a healthier way to approach being a member of the Auburn family, because then you don't do things like Gracie and say that you're an Ohio State fan now until you start winning again. Sorry, Gracie. Am I being too mean? I woke up being the cheesiest coach. Oh, thank you for that, Corey. And I like, or is that who wrote that? I woke up being the cheesiest coach. I didn't even realize that I was quoting that thing right there. Guys, I would just at this point, if someone's just being rude and bringing things that are not necessarily part of this conversation, just let it be. I think that's part of the thing that needs to happen sometimes. Cheese It commercial. Yeah, that was what I was really thinking of there. Okay, let me keep going back, see if there are any other relevant comments to that. Dakota says, who in the comments sees potential in the quarterbacks if we fix the O-line? I do. I think there's a lot of potential in the comments. I think that in the quarterbacks, there's a lot of potential in the comments too. Robbie's obviously got a lot of athleticism. I think he needs to be a little bit more comfortable, and that comes with support from the offensive line, giving him the ability to feel secure back there and not have to just immediately do what a lot of time Bo Nix did and run. TJ as well, he wants to stand there, so he needs the time to do it, and he's shown what he can do in crunch time situations. You've also got Holden, who's just young, who really needs that support from the offensive line. And you can't really make a lot of large jumps in his assessment right now because we've seen a series or two from him and in crunch time, so to speak. And then Calzada, we haven't seen anything. And we've seen what he can do in high pressure situations already. So if he can stay healthy, that's absolutely another opportunity there. Would you consider running the ball more against LSU with Ashford? QB draws, maybe an RPO type offense. Well, there was a lot of that, Dakota, in this game, and it worked a lot of the time. So here's the problem. Everybody knows we have to run the ball. So everybody's going to be keying off that. They know we struggle to pass the ball, to do it consistently, to protect the ball doing that. So yes, it's kind of the same thing. Everybody was screaming, why do you only give Tank the ball 9 times? But then you see what happens when they give it to him more. So we're stuck in this vicious cycle of we just have to recognize what it is. The offensive line is not going to right now fix itself, and you've got to just do the best you can. Start freshman on the O-line, maybe, but here's where I would disagree with you a little bit, Gracie. I would say that if we were in a situation where the season, like in terms of prospects, was already over, you might have a point. Let everybody else who's going to be the future figure it out. But we're not there yet. In my opinion, we're not there yet. Because as Austin said during the podcast, you literally have everything, in front of you. I have a question. Where did they get the oaks from which they replaced? Did they get them from Pat's Tree Farm? There are some people who have said that it came from Pat Dye's Tree Farm. He has some of the, offspring, whatever you consider offspring for plants, out there. And he was buried under one of his Japanese maples. I don't think or was it one of the offspring? I can't never get that story right. But he was, proficient and involved in kind of trying to continue that line of those trees. I think these came from a different garden or horticulture spot that Auburn managed. I could be wrong, but I don't think that they came from Pat Dye's field. Your favorite thing was Tiger Walk. It was cool to high five the players and coaches. Isn't that cool? I mean, if you ever want to be up there, you just got to get to Tiger Walk early and do that experience. Let's see here. Oaks were brought in from either South or North Carolina, but it's an Auburn run facility over there, isn't it? Am I wrong on that? But I thought that was the case. And he was buried under one of the oak trees that he propagated. So in that just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Maybe more strength up front on the O-line. I can't tell if it's footwork or strength. I've said this a lot, so I don't know who has and hasn't heard it. Unfortunately, I just think we're at the point with the offensive line that there's too many problems to just say it's footwork, to just say it's fundamentals, to just say it's teamwork, to just say it's mentality, to just say it's one person over the other. It's just not working. And it's frustrating to have to admit that. It's frustrating to even just, reason with that and say that's the case. But it really is. Football is a very complex sport, but at its heart, it is very simplistic. You have to win the line of scrimmage on both sides of it, defense and offense. And if you can't do that, you will not stand a chance of winning the game. Thankfully, Auburn's defense in this game did a much better job, and is the reason probably they found themselves in the opportunity that presented itself with a little bit of luck involved. We're going to talk about that a lot more tomorrow night. So, yeah, Linda, see that it's kind of becoming one of those stories about where the Oaks came from is like the stories of War Eagle. Everybody's got a person who knows the story, and everybody's got a person who says this is the true story. But no apologies necessary. It's just hard to, know who has and hasn't seen that because we talk about it so much. As long as our offensive line has no, and see, it's easy for us too, Linda, to say that, like, because we're sitting here. Let me take responsibility for myself. I'm sitting here on a YouTube channel, which I'm blessed to have, just saying these things, and I don't understand and know the work and the effort that these guys put in every single week. And I know they're trying. I know they're trying to be better each week, but it just ain't happening. And there's not a immediate solution. So while everything's in front of us still, you kind of have to keep going and just hope that there's this light bulb that finally clicks. All this coaching, the changes that the team has gone through, that they've gone through, just finally goes and it figures it out. Because you would think as long as they've been together, that would be figured out right now. But yeah. So there. I thought there was another question or two back here. See, Brian, this is where I disagree with you. I'm not hoping for that because that means Auburn has to go through a transition period again, which sets us further back. So honestly, if you want what's best for Auburn, I'm not just saying this about you, Brian, but I'm saying about everybody. You will hope that this gets figured out. What's best for Auburn right now is for Coach Harsin to get this thing figured out everywhere. I use holistically a lot lately, so I'm trying to be better about that. But that's what I mean. I mean, recruiting, coaching, who gets to play, how they perform on the field, even down to the smallest detail. What's best for Auburn is for this, as it is right now, to get figured out. Because I promise you, no amount of excitement about the hype that a Coach Prime brings, no amount of flash and proven stability that a Hugh Freeze offense brings will help make up the ground any more faster than getting it fixed right now. I mean that. This is what's best for Auburn right now, and I can definitively say that at this moment. Corey wants Harsin tired of kicking the can down the road with coaches. And let's be honest, there's a lot more schools that have done worse in this category than we have. But there will come a time when I say will, feels like it. There may come a time when it is time to part ways with Harsin. It happened for Gene. In my case, at least, it happened for Gus. It happened for Pat Dye. I think we all agree, even some of the things that how his time ended. We kind of long for those days. It ended for Suge, So there will be a change, but it needs to be it would be nice for once if it was under good terms, like a coach retiring after he's been here a good long while. As much as I preach about, don't worry about the team across the other state. Wouldn't it be nice for us to be sitting here about a coach who's been here for almost 2 decades now and is still extending and is just looking to the age of his retirement, and we all look and just hope that he stays for another extension? It can be like that, but we got to have patience. You got to have hope, and you got to believe that this thing can get fixed. I still believe that. I know that seems stupid and naive to say that. I believe that, and I hope for that because that's what's best for Auburn. It's a bit optimistic. I would not say the offense would be booming if the offensive line was fixed, but that is the number one issue, and it's as simple as that. We could be Tennessee, but I'm glad we're not at the moment. They're doing pretty good right now, but think about how those of you that have been huge college football fans, right? Think about how amazing Tennessee was at one point and how far they fell in the somewhat peaks they had, but the huge dips they had along the way to get back to this where they seem to be right now. And we're not even sure that this high that they're having with Josh Heupel is even going to last. That's how bad it's been for Tennessee. They used to be a power. You used to dread playing Tennessee. I did. In 2004, when Auburn had to play Tennessee, I was just sure that was going to be it. Play them twice, I thought that was going to be it. Now you look at Tennessee and you're like, yeah, they got a good offense, but man, it's still Tennessee. Maybe they're heading out of that, but that's what we can be there. That's what we could fall into. I support keeping Harsin until the end of the year, and I don't understand why to fire any head coach why people want to fire any head coach 4 games in. It won't really fix the team immediately, but maybe fixes it long run. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument for go ahead and starting the process now, but it doesn't. The things that people are complaining about right now, it doesn't fix those. Really, it's just everybody wants a scapegoat, and it makes them sadly feel better to know, I was part of the Fire Harsin campaign. Wow, I got him, even though you had nothing to do with it. Yeah, I think we could have a great team if the offensive line gets it together. And again, the offensive line is not the only problem, but they are a big problem. They fell off the cliff with Lane. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that want to jump on that Lane train after seeing how he wrecked Tennessee. The man seems to be different, but it's kind of the same scenario with Hugh Freeze. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in second chances, but that doesn't mean you have to be the one to give them. If they come here, I will support them because that's what's best for Auburn until there are moral, ethical problems if they do arise. All right, I'll take a few more comments and questions here. James Smith said that we get him if we beat Bama, #1 defensive line in the state. Yeah, kids say anything. So, Gracie, my advice to you would don't believe everything that an 18-year-old says. Not that they're directly lying. They'll say anything. I as an 18-year-old, would say anything to get attention. So beating Bama doesn't guarantee you a thing, just to be honest. But it'd be nice if it did, right? That's a big motivation right there. Nebraska is another great example in beating Lake Tennessee. I think when we think about teams that once powers, amazing, and what our fear of becoming is, Tennessee and Nebraska are hallmarks of that. I think, USC, they're coming back again too, is another example of that. But maybe to a lesser extent. Well, I mean, I think second chances as a Christian, I believe in second chances. If, God can forgive me of my sins, who says I can't forgive others of their sins as well, even if that's just things they did wrong related to football or things like that. But I think forgiveness, people get that mixed up with not the people still facing consequences for what they did. Just because you are forgiven doesn't mean you don't face consequences of your actions in a, not to get super philosophical right now, because I know a lot of people don't subscribe to that, but I'll always openly share that. But consequences always matter. And that doesn't mean no amount of rectifying the wrongs that have been done by someone in any sense of the word doesn't change the consequences that you will face here. Jake Levant, you want him to start at linebacker? It would be a cool story with him winning that scholarship this year. Maybe you see, a lot of people are starting to question the linebackers, and I saw you said that earlier, but I don't really see that as a big issue right now. I could be wrong. The people who are hoping to lose Harsin, that hoping we lose so Harsin gets fired are not true fans. I agree with that. We should always want what's best for Auburn. I listen. If you are rooting for your team to, if your response at the end of that game was crap, you need to go check yourself. That's pitiful. You should have been happy and relieved. Now, you can, as soon as that's over and you've celebrated that, go, like we all are here right now. God, that sucked. Oh, that sucked really bad. But I am so thankful that we won that game. And still, I'm frustrated about everything. But, it is what it is. Gracie, you and I must be watching two different games. Owen shows up a lot to me, frankly. Maybe I'm wrong, but it shows up a lot to me. USC will go down the toilet once again once they get into the Big Ten. Maybe. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. All right, I'll take a few last-minute comments and questions. Reminders, as always, when we do a live stream here, check out the links in the description for ways you can help support our content. You can be a channel member by hitting that join button. That's just one of the things you can do. You can be a Booster Club member, get yourself extra perks at patreon.com/E2C Network. There's our TeePublic store. There's the PayPal link. There's the thanks button here. Or you can just smash the like button. You can leave a comment, watch the other videos. Tons of content from this past week. We got your locker room tour, post-game show. We've got the parade. We've got the pep rally. We've got the Four Corners pep rally on game day. We've got Tiger Walk. We've got the video we just put out today about the different floats that you need to go check out. And this week, our regular content is back again. Grades and breakdown tomorrow with Ben King. On Tuesday is a break day, unless something else pops up, which these days it just happens. Wednesday is our live call-in show where we'll just talk about anything with you, the Auburn family. Thursday, preview of LSU, who. And then, of course, we'll get back to our weekend schedule for one last go-around with this busy 5-game homestand. It has been a world of fun, though, even in some of the frustrations. All right, last-minute comments and questions here. There are fans on Twitter that said the team should not be celebrated. There are people on Twitter that do not deserve an opinion, is what I will say to that. Because they will say anything to get a reaction, and they will hide behind. The best thing you can do when you see people like that, go to the mute. You don't have to block them. Hit the mute button. That's what I do. Then you don't have to see that ignorance again until they make another account and come back into your live stream because they're being petty. And then you have to block every one of those, and they have to block their original account. You know who I'm talking about because you're probably there right now. Those are the type of people you don't like. What's your opinion? Do you think Texas and Oklahoma would make it in the SEC? Yeah. If you're talking about football, I guess that's what you're talking about, Dakota. I mean, yeah, they're going to be competitive. Will they win the SEC straight away? Probably not, but they'll be competitive. You need to look at this on my favorite word, holistically. The amount of competition and championships that they potentially bring to the table. Go look at this past year and see how many championships were won alone by Oklahoma and Texas and how many were competed by Oklahoma and like being the second place, the runner-up. That's why they were brought in, not just their markets. Hall and Leota were beasts. They were. That's kind of exactly what you were hoping for. It just took a few games to really get there. I think a lot of people feed off others' negativity, especially in social media, unfortunately. Hit the mute button. That's the best thing I can give you advice. Really, Kyle, we had 1,000 top players there to watch that Penn State game. What did they see a reason to come play at Auburn early and help us rebuild? But we know players want to play for winning teams. Not everybody, in the sense that it's not, of course, you want to come be for a winning team. Auburn sells itself on much. And Gracie, I know you felt like I was picking on you a little bit earlier, and that's not the case here. But the things that you're saying, it shows that you don't have a wider understanding of what it means to be part of the Auburn family. And I'd love to help you grow in that and understand that. But if you think that winning football games is the only thing that matters, you will be sadly disappointed for a long, long, long time. Because if that's the case, if winning is all that matters, we would not be getting recruits to commit even after. We got 2 commits right after, or 1 commit, but on the same weekend after the Penn State loss or around the Penn State issues. So that should prove that narrative wrong. And just because they're not a 4 or 5 star doesn't mean they're not worth it. Good decision, sir. I would be off Twitter too if I didn't have to be on there for a business. It's fun when it's fun. It's bad when it's bad. And a lot of times it's just bad. Who Ellis who have some corn dogs. I know it's going to be fun to throw that around for the rest of the days. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's late for hanging out with us on another episode and recording of the Auburn Experience. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family, whether we see eye to eye or not. I appreciate experiencing Auburn with you. Hope to see y'all here tomorrow night live. Monday nights, as it always is, for our breakdown and grades show for the latest Auburn football game when we're in season. And I'll hopefully see you then or later on this week. Thank you guys for being here. Till we talk to you again.